Missoula County Commissioners meeting, public meeting of Thursday, January 25th, 2018. And if you'll stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. So does anyone have any public announcements at this point? Seeing none. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda? And we have 2 public hearings today. Anything beyond those that folks want to comment on? Okay. Seeing none, for the period of time January 18th, 2018 through January 19th, 2018, our current claims list by the Missoula Commissioner's Office total $3,066,898.79. And we have 2 public hearings today. The first of which I'll open up is a family transfer, the Fullerton family transfer. And Casey, do we have a staff report?
We do. Casey Drayton here with Missoula County Planning to present the Fullerton family transfer staff report. This property for the family transfer is located generally described as the Upper Woodchuck area, way down south, kind of by the county line. You can see on the map on the screen, Ravalli County would be that gray dashed line across the bottom. You can also see Highway 93 as the red line off to the left of the screen. So you actually have to come through Ravalli County to get to this property. Closer shot at the property, you can see here it has one single family dwelling way up at the northern property line. It does have Buckboard Lane, which is the access to this property, which bisects a corner of it there. That access then connects to Upper Woodchuck Road, which would get you out of there and back down into the valley. The property was described most recently through a retracement survey. 5652 is the certificate of survey. We're looking at tract 1 here. We're just over 40 acres in size. Surrounding this tract are primarily 20 acre, just over 20 acre tracts, all of uniform size and layout for the most part. So our existing tract of record, again, is tract 1 of the certificate of survey that we can see here on the screen. The proposal in front of us today is to split that basically straight down the middle, as you can see there, with one tract 1B, being transferred to the Fullerton's daughter in this request. It would create an alignment that's identical to the other tracts surrounding it. This is a picture of it over top of the aerial, just to give you an idea of what that would look like. Ricky and Julie Fullerton, who are with us here today, would retain that northern tract with the single-family dwelling on it. Sharon Clausen, their daughter, would receive that 20 acres down to the south with this proposal. The rebuttable presumptions and general evasion criteria were reviewed in the staff analysis for this request. None of the rebuttable presumptions were triggered or applicable to this request in front of us. There were a few of the general evasion criteria applicable to this request that were triggered that staff noted in bold in the report. One of those being that the application indicated that Rick Fullerton is in the business of construction. That's one of the general evasion criteria. Another one is whether or not the proposed division is compatible with the growth policy. This proposed division would result in residential development in an area designated as open and resource. Open and resource can allow residential development up to 1 dwelling unit per 40 acres to keep with the plan. However, it's primarily focused on maintaining open and valuable resource areas. So this would be a 1 dwelling per 20 as it's proposed. And the third and final general evasion criteria that was triggered with this request is that there likely would have been significant conditions of approval put on a subdivision request. Some of those likely would have been effects to the natural environment, wildlife habitat, as well as local services. So we'd be looking at roads, fire danger here, and wildlife in the area. Most likely with the subdivision request had a formal application and agency comment review been brought forward. Staff is recommending that this request by Ricky and Julie Fullerton to utilize the family transfer exemption to create and transfer one parcel to their daughter be approved. And we have a few questions for the applicants, if you'd like to come forward.
And you might need to hit the button there to make sure the mic is on.
Turns green.
There we
All
go.
right, it's green
Thank
now.
you.
Yep, and if you could just give us your name for the record, please.
Ricky Lynn Fullerton.
Thank you. Did you buy the property with the intent of dividing it?
No, I did not.
Do you or your transferees intend to transfer the property within the next year?
No,
Have you talked to anyone at the county about going through subdivision review?
no, I have not.
And will the property be developed?
Yeah, my daughter will, and her husband will be building a home on it.
Okay.
As they're financing or when the process gets finished.
Okay. And then will the recipient of the property be actually residing on the property?
Yes, she will.
Okay. That is all the questions we have, and that concludes my staff report.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so is there any comment from the public on this particular item? Or if Mr. or Mrs. Fullerton have anything else that you'd like to share, now would certainly be the time that you could do so. Okay. Commissioner Curtis.
Hi. So either one of you could answer this question, but because we have this great property management system, it's really easy to click and see who owns land around where you're going to be. And it was noted that you own a couple other 20-acre parcels in the area. So I was just curious as to why you were gifting your daughter part of this parcel instead of one of the others.
Mr. Fullerton.
Well, so the reason being is we live on the one down on the bottom here. And then there's another resident which is in that 40 acres, what they said, which right now, my stepfather-in-law lives there now. My mother-in-law passed away last year, so we let him stay there. And then the other parcel over there has a barn and corrals where we kind of keep horses most of the time, where other times we run pasture, let them on that other piece of property there the rest of the time. So the only really place that we seen that would want to allow another house to be built in the area was in between that. And so that, and then we'd use the road that comes up to our house where we live on that 20, because and then they'd just have just a short little road to put back up to where their house is going to be, where they would like to put it, and which would make it a little more convenient than trying to put another road all the way up through there. That and have my future son-in-law there, and I got a lot of work for him to do that he could help me with. So that's part of it too.
Okay. Well, thank you. I figured you had a reason, but I just thought we'd put it on the record. Thanks.
Thank you. Additional questions from the commission or discussion? I guess I will just chime in. These family transfers are always difficult, and I do have some significant concerns, both in terms of how far the proposed density would deviate from the land use designations, designation of open and resource for this area, and also, as staff pointed out, that had this gone through subdivision review, there probably would be a number of conditions associated with the division of land that otherwise in a family transfer would not be taken into account. Any additional public comment? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing.
I would move that the Board of County Commissioners approve the family transfer requested by the Fullerton family, as it does not appear to be an evasion of subdivision.
I'll second, and I agree with Commissioner Stormeyer's concerns always of how narrowly construed these exemptions are supposed to be or are not supposed to be. So I'm always a little concerned about dividing land without any review, but I do feel that in this case, it's an okay use of the family transfer exemption, so I will second the motion to approve.
Okay, any additional discussion? We have a motion that's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
So you'll get a letter from our office soon, but you can start Corinne knows the deal. You can start your surveys and things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our second public hearing relates to a condition amendment and plat amendment for Deshaw Lane number 2.
Thank you.
Jamie.
Jamie Robacher with Missoula County Planning. This is a request from Joe Frazier. He is represented today by Dave Capser and Paul Forsting at Territorial Landworks. The request is to amend the 1-foot no access strip language on the face of the plat and condition number 19 of Deshaw Lane number 2. Deshaw Lane number 2 is located off of Deshaw Lane. It's southwest of the I-90Y intersection, just south of Lot 5, which is highlighted on the screen, is the railroad tracks and then Roller Coaster Road. This subdivision was platted on 69.29 acres. It includes 5 lots. Lots 1 through 4 were each 2.25 acres in size, and Lot 5, the subject lot, was platted as 60.29 acres. In 2005, Joe Frazier, the current owner of Lot 5, re-subdivided the Deshaw Lane number 2 subdivision into a subdivision known as the Hyatt Development Park. This subdivision included 36 lots, which were to be filed in 2 phases. Lots 1 through 6 of the subdivision were filed in 2007. The remaining lots were not filed, and Joe does not intend on filing them. Instead, he's going to undergo a county townhome exemption development review, which will use the underlying legal description of Lot 5, Deshaw Lane number 2. In order to gain access for the 8-lot CTED development, Joe must comply with the conditions of subdivision approval for Deshaw Lane number 2. So on your screen there, I'm just showing Hyatt Development Park. The area that was filed includes those 6 lots on the north end, and then the additional lots, which aren't going to be filed, but rather you'll end up seeing on the ground the 8-lot industrial CTED development that's on the right. So condition number 19 requires a 1-foot no access strip to be placed on the plat along Deshaw Lane where it abuts Lot 5. The removal of that no access strip is conditional upon paving Deshaw Lane up to the point of access on Lot 5. In addition, there's that notation on the face of the plat, which basically has the same language. In order to comply with the regulation and have a zoning compliance permit issued for the CTED development, Joe would be required to pave Deshaw Lane now, up to the point of the proposed access, which is circled in red there, and that road's going to be 2 Smokes Way, I believe, or Lane. So Joe could do the paving now. However, Public Works is actually preparing to pave Deshaw Lane from the intersection of Moccasin Lane just beyond the railroad tracks. Obviously, knowing that this is going to occur, Joe has requested that if he were to enter into an agreement with Public Works where he would pay for the improvements, then Public Works would do the work, that we would assume the condition to be satisfied and release the zoning compliance permit. So recognizing that this would be a workable solution not only for Joe but also for the county, staff felt that this could be accomplished through a condition amendment. Sorry for the language, but I just wanted it all kind of on the screen for you. A lot of text. So this brings us to the request. Territorial Landworks and staff worked together on the proposed condition number 19 language as shown on the right-hand side of your screen. This request is supported by the Public Works Department as well as our office. Joe and Public Works have already reached an agreement which is attached to the staff report for your information. If approved, the only additional thing that Joe would need to do is record the agreement with the clerk and recorder and file an affidavit of correction to amend the language on the face of the plat. The language proposed on the affidavit is shown on your screen as well. The request was sent to neighboring property owners for comment. I did receive a few calls regarding the request, but not to complain or oppose the request. Rather, they were all excited to hear that Deshaw Lane would finally be paved. We also sent the request to various agencies for comment. Public Works was in support, as I already stated, and Air Quality was also in support of the request. Deshaw Lane is at the edge of the air stagnation zone. Ben Schmidt with the Health Department stated that he has had several complaints about dust in the area and was pleased to know that by September of 2018, paving of Deshaw Lane should be completed. So based on what I've presented today and the additional findings of fact and conclusions of law found in the staff report, we are recommending approval of the condition amendment and the plat amendment, and I've provided very long motions for you. So the first one here and then the second one on the next screen. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Would the applicant or applicant's representative like to say anything?
Hi, I'm David Capser with Territorial Land Works, representing my client, Joe Fraser. I was involved in the application process, so I want to thank you all for your consideration. It seemed like a very easy process with the support of Jamie with planning, so I want to thank you, Jamie, for that. You have any questions for me?
Maybe in a minute.
Okay.
So this is a public hearing which I'll open. Is there any additional public comment on this item today? Okay. Nobody's racing to the mic, so I'll close the public hearing. Any questions from the commission?
I just think that it would be good to have Eric just put on the record that this is a project Public Works is in support of, since he's here.
Mr. Dixon.
Sure, Eric Dixon for Public Works. And, excuse me, yes, this is something that we are extremely happy to be doing. As I mentioned in a staff meeting earlier, that we are working with MRL to improve the railroad crossing on Deshaw Lane just south of this property. And the work that we'll be completing on their behalf and as well as our own ends about 185 feet south of the proposed approach for Joe's development. So it makes sense for us to be able to continue that work. And since this is not a subdivision technically, we do have the ability from previous work that we've done where residents on a county-maintained road have been paying for materials, and by agreement, then we provide the labor and equipment to get that work done. It's a benefit for them, it's a benefit for us, it's definitely a benefit for the residents in the area, however rural it may be, but it's just a good solution to finally get some things taken care of in the area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question for Jamie.
Commissioner Curtis.
So Jamie, we don't have many of these industrial townhome exemptions, so that doesn't go through like planning board and us. It's an exemption in law. If you just want to
Correct.
go over that a little bit.
Yeah, so condominium, the condominium exemption in state law was revised, I believe, in 2013 or 2011, and it included townhome developments. Did not say that that was only meant for residential townhome developments, so we've taken that to include commercial and industrial townhome developments. So in April of 2017, we rewrote our zoning regulations to include what we're calling CTED developments. And basically, that is a zoning compliance review that will occur to create unit areas. They look kind of like a lot, but basically that unit area is for exclusive use of one owner, and then they can also put a building on that unit area. So unit areas can be sold off individually to Jean and Dave and so on and so forth. And so for Joe, what he is proposing is 8 unit areas, which I assume will then have 8 individual businesses on them.
So just to follow up, then your office works with them to make sure they meet the zoning and stuff that
Yep,
fits for
correct.
setbacks and all of that.
Yep. And there is a road, Two Smokes Way or Lane, I can't remember if it's Way or Lane, that is proposed with that development. And Public Works has already reviewed that to comply with their standards as well.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions or discussion? Okay. Is there a motion? Pregnant pause. Are you sweating out there? Okay.
Do we have to read the whole thing? Yes, okay. I move that condition number 19 shall be amended to read, the applicant shall place a 1-foot no-access strip on the face of the final plat along the Lot 1 and Lot 3 Dayshaw Lane easement with the exception of the 60-foot wide access. The applicant shall place a 1-foot no-access strip on Lot 5 as it abuts Dayshaw Lane from the end of the paving Moccasin Lane to the south end of Lot 5. Removal of the 1-foot no-access strip shall be conditional upon the current property owner, Joe Frazier, entering into a financial agreement with Missoula County for the paving of Dayshaw Lane. The agreement shall be reviewed and approved by Public Works and recorded with the clerk and recorder prior to the approval of a zoning compliance permit or building permit for any open-air use or structure. In the event that an agreement is not reached, the current property owner shall pave Dayshaw Lane to the proposed access point on Lot 5 prior to the approval of a zoning compliance permit or building permit for any open-air use or structure.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I also move that the applicant shall file an affidavit of correction with the clerk and recorder stating that the removal of the 1-foot no-access strip fronting Lot 5 is conditional upon the following. The current property owner, Joe Frazier, shall enter into a financial agreement with Missoula County for the paving of Dayshaw Lane. The agreement shall be reviewed and approved by Public Works and recorded with the clerk and recorder prior to the approval of a zoning compliance permit or building permit for any open-air use or structure. In the event that an agreement is not reached, the current property owner shall pave Dayshaw Lane to the proposed access point on Lot 5 prior to the approval of a zoning compliance permit or building permit for any open-air use or structure.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor? Aye.
So I have one question for Jamie.
Yes.
So is the reason we have open air is because it can be a parking lot or a wrecking yard and that kind of thing?
Yes.
Because it's an odd, we've not seen that much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, and thanks for reading those, Cola.
You're welcome.
Anything else with that item? Okay.
With the two motions, we don't have to do an overall because we were just amending that, right? Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Thank you. Is there any other business to come before the commission today? Okay, seeing none, we'll be in recess. Thank you.